Hello everyone, the Kentucky Patriot here. A little bit of a change of scenery. Since I've been able to make a video, so we're going to try to do an impromptu video here. We're on a trip, my family, so we're driving. So I thought, well, we'll just grab the camera and make this real quick. Hopefully, when we get back, try to have New York Prepper on. I know you'll really enjoy that. Great guy, great outdoorsman, great channel. But anyway, right before we left, somebody had asked the question, and I'll kind of touch on this, but I really want to get into gun control. But I want to touch on, they asked me what I thought about Thomas Massie and his Christmas picture, and I had no idea what they were even talking about. So those of you who don't know, Thomas Massie is a congressman here in Kentucky, and I guess his family all of them had their guns or whatever, and it was by the Christmas tree. Like I said, I Googled it after that and see what he was talking about, and I found it. And just because somebody has a difference of opinion of us or sees things different doesn't automatically mean they're our enemy, okay? And you have to understand, not everybody was raised like we were. Not everybody, and a lot of times people has been conditioned to learn to, be taught and grow up, and they are literally from their childhood taught that guns are bad and guns are evil. And and when they see a shooting, they think, man, if we just get rid of guns, this wouldn't happen. So the question was, since Thomas Massie done that, was that insensitive right after a mass shooting? Well, my response was, I don't know with what intent that Thomas Massie and his family done that. I said, I'm sure they were heartbroken at any mass shooting, as anybody with an ounce of compassion or an ounce of humanity would be. But I don't think it was because of lack of, compassion. But here's the thing, and I'm sure their heart was broken when that happened, but I think they just love freedom and love the 2A community, as I do. And anytime I ever make a gun video, it's not that, that I don't have compassion when people get hurt or anytime something bad happens, but I think we have to absolutely reject the thought or opinion that every time a crime's committed, an inanimate object is at fault. And what I mean by that is, how my heart would break if I had a family member or friend that was murdered or stabbed or mugged or hurt with a knife. That's horrific. That's a terrible situation. And I would be horrified, but I don't think it's insensitive of me if I go home and I still have knives, or I go home and I still use a knife to cut up tomatoes and vegetables for a salad, or if I still have a steak knife, because if a knife is used as a weapon, it's not the knife's fault. And I don't think it's insensitive of me if let's say I don't, but let's say I had a forge and I worked in blades and I made knives. If somebody happened in my family that they got hurt with a knife, I don't think it would be insensitive to me to go home and make a knife, or go home and take pictures of me with my knives, or showing how much we love knives. We have to understand that humans can be terrible. They can be evil. But even years before mankind knew how to use gunpowder as a weapon to hunt or war or whatever, way before a cannon or a musket or anything, even back in biblical times, Cain slew Abel, and that was years ago. So I don't think it's people's insensitive that they don't care, because my heart breaks for any time there's a mass shooting. But I think we really have to understand what gun control is. What gun control is a limiting of freedom and your rights. Here is the thing, there's millions of guns all over the United States, every kind of gun you can think about, from rifle, pistol, shotgun, whatever the case may be. And if gun owners were the problem, you would know it. But when you talk gun control, what you're doing is you are trying to take guns from law-abiding citizens. And when you do that, you're taking away a person's right to defend themselves. And I absolutely believe in the right to defend yourself, but and it always blows my mind and baffles me that people are so uneducated really about the Second Amendment. All I hear is the argument from the left, and this isn't toward anybody. The gentleman asked the question, was very respectful, very kind, and I have no problem talking with anybody. We should be able to have a civil discussion. Now, when it gets into name calling and people use foul language, then I'm done. I won't engage. But here's the thing. with gun control, you are taking the right of the people to keep and bear arms to be able to defend themselves. But here's the real thing about the Second Amendment. Again, it amazes me that people don't understand this and isn't taught this. When people say, well, who needs 30 rounds to hunt? Who needs a black assault rifle to hunt? The thing is, the Second Amendment has nothing to do with hunting. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. So I'm not saying you do need 30 rounds to hunt. The Second Amendment was to ensure that the people had the right to keep and bear arms. It was for against a tyrannical government. It was for against tyranny. That's why they wanted the militia and to make sure that we had freedom. So when you take people's rights to keep and bear arms, and I do not understand, I'll never understand how we live in the United States where it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and in places like Chicago and New York City and all these places are absolutely 100% infringing upon our rights. It absolutely amazes me. But anyway, when you take rights of the people to keep and bear arms, it does not make society safer. It actually makes it a lot worse, because all these crimes in Chicago, all these shootings, you're not allowed to have a gun anyway. So they're all illegal guns. Criminals do not obey laws. That's what makes them criminals. So if you take guns from the law-abiding, from the honest, hard-working, freedom-loving Americans, you're taking the right of them to be able to defend themselves. So if a bad guy has a gun, you're absolutely helpless. Mr. Wilson, I'm sure you've probably seen it in that church shooting a few years back. The bad guy had a gun. If Mr. Wilson would not have had that gun to protect himself and the people in that congregation, it would have been a mass slaughter. So, the old saying, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Because you outlaw guns, outlaws are going to be the only ones that have guns. When you take away, the right to keep and bear arms from grandparents, from single mothers, from a single mother at home with her children, if she can't defend herself, then she's absolutely helpless. And there's a saying that I use a lot, and I want you to really think about what this is saying. And it says, in order to be peaceable, you must be capable of great violence. Because if you are not capable of great violence, then you are not peaceable, you are harmless. And there is a huge difference between being peaceable and harmless. There absolutely really is. I'm going to have to switch lanes here, and I'll probably lose my train of thought. No, he got over. I love it when you're going up a mountain. We're in Tennessee, on our way to Tennessee, but I love it when you go up a big mountain, these trucks get in the wrong lane and slow you down. But anyway, nothing like... I digress. But anyway, so, taking guns from people will not stop evil people. I mean, there's hammers, tools, screwdrivers, knives, all kinds of things used in murder. So when you take somebody's, freedoms and means of protection, the wolves aren't going to give up their gun. You just make the sheep very vulnerable. And that's basically what it is. You've got wolves out there. You've got predators out there that they'll prey on a woman, children, elderly, and anybody. And if we don't have the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, then and people's like, well, you ought to train in martial arts, you ought to train in this, and you ought to do this. I'm just telling you, if you bring a knife to a gunfight, you're going to be in a real. You absolutely taking the guns from the citizenry. I won't get into all of it, make this video as short as I can, but that's what Hitler done. The first thing he done, go back and look at it. It's in German, but you listen to his speech on gun control, and he talked about we're coming into a modern age. The streets are going to be safer. We're going to lead the world. And he took the guns, and you know what happened there. Look what Stalin did. Look what Mao in China did. Look what Chavez did. Let me tell you, when they unarm the citizenry, it gets dangerous. And that's what our founders made sure of, that we had the right to keep and bear arms. So, I am totally against gun control. And like I said, that's not being insensitive. Oh, how my heart breaks, when a child gets hurt or somebody does something evil. But you take that criminal, that thug that took that child a while back in Las Vegas or Reno or wherever it was, and threw him out of that motel window. He didn't use a gun, but you can't blame a building. You have to hold people responsible. And I tell you, the best way to stop a lot of this crime is to make sure that people are armed. I believe with all my heart, and we're very fortunate where we live in Kentucky. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on, everybody owns guns. I mean, everybody, they just do. And I think that deters a lot of crime, because you really don't want to break into somebody's house. Well, you know good and well they've got a revolver, they've got a shotgun, they've got a rifle, and it just keeps, I think, honest people honest. And I've probably missed a lot of points I wanted to have said, and I probably said too much on this topic or that topic. But really, the the 2A Second Amendment pretty much protects all of our rights, because you don't have freedom of speech if you can't defend your speech. People say, yeah, you've got the freedom of speech as long as you say exactly what I want you to say. Then that's not freedom of speech. And if you can't defend yourself, and like I said, they'll say you're not compassionate, you don't care about kids, you don't care about mass shootings. Absolutely, we do. But my advice is arm. I have no problem with schools having an armed police officer. They say, well, that sends a bad... No, it doesn't. It doesn't send a bad vibe at all. It sends, hey, we love our kids, and we're going to do what it takes to protect our kids. And if we have to use our tax dollars to have an armed police officer in the school, then that's what we're going to do. I have no problem with training and arming teachers or whatever the case may be. We aren't going to just wish crime away. We're not going to wish evil away. We're not going to legislate evil away. I'm telling you, taking guns away from citizenry is not going to be the answer. So right now, me and my family, we're armed, okay? We're no threat to anybody. We're not. But now, if we're not armed, I've got 2 kids with me. What if we run into trouble now? Again, what if that guy in the church, Mr. Wilson, wasn't armed that day? It'd have been a slaughter. But instead, he was armed, and he was able to save the day. Last point, other man who's down in Texas, he saw guys in tactical gear shooting up the church or whatever, and he got out with his AR-15 and was able to solve the situation, and that drove the media and the left crazy, because they say you have no need for an AR-15. He was able to defend his life. And same thing with, I hate to say his name, so I'm afraid I'll get flagged on YouTube, but about the young kid in Kenosha? I'm not going to say his name, but Kyle, you know who I'm talking about. He was not allowed to have a pistol. He was underage to have a pistol, so he carried a rifle. He was assaulted by grown men, pedophile, with a gun, was not supposed to have a gun, a felon, and they was threatened to kill him and beat him and stomped him. And had he not had that AR-15, I am certain he wouldn't be here today, or if he was here, he'd have been beaten to a pulp. So, I am absolutely 100% for the citizenry owning. I don't care if it's a 30-round mag or a 100-round drum. I don't care. The round and the gun does not determine who you are. You can be, I guess what I'm trying to say is you're not going to be a Boy Scout, a choir singing church member, good upstanding citizen that loves their community, and buy a gun, and because that gun touched your hand turns you into a criminal and evil. Guns are not evil. Guns are an inanimate object. Being able to defend ourselves, being able to enjoy our Second Amendment rights, and what comes with that is hunting and other in the shooting sports. But really, it is for self-defense, preservation, and against tyranny. So anyway, and we ought to be able to debate this without getting into name calling and being ugly. And nothing is worse than even when somebody's on our side, when they act like a belligerent idiot, it's just like, whether we mean to or not, if we're in the 2A community, then we represent the 2A community. So when we say or do stuff, we're either going to help our community, and it's going to enlighten, and people is going to say, I understand now, that makes sense. So if somebody says they're for gun control, or they're not on our side of the aisle, if we just start name calling and we start, you're not going to win anybody like that. But I think we need to, and some people you're never going to convince, but I think we need to understand history. We understand the importance of the Second Amendment, and we need to be good stewards and be thankful for our freedoms and handle our freedoms with gun safety, with kindness, with gentleness, and pass these freedoms on, because we're one generation away here from losing freedom. And I've got young kids. I want them to have the freedoms that I've enjoyed, that my grandparents enjoyed, my great-grandparents enjoyed, and it's up to us. So anyway, maybe this went a little bit longer than I thought, but we were driving, I thought, grab it, I'll just kind of speak my mind. And that's really what I want to do with this channel. Is I'm not a professional channel. I'm just a normal guy just like you, and I just want to share share my thoughts and my experiences, my opinions with you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If I left something out, something I didn't name, let me know. If you have a point, regardless if you agree with me or not, we should still be able to have a civil discussion. Everybody's welcome on my channel as long as you keep it family friendly, keep the conversation civil. I'm glad to have a discussion with any of you. Appreciate you watching. Wish you and yours the very best. We're, like I said, in Tennessee here, another great state, another freedom-loving state. A lot of good people down here. Got a buddy down here, Hootie Hoo, and Paul. A lot of good people down here. New York Prepper, I think, got some family down here. Just a lot of good people down here. Wish you and you're the very best. May God bless you, the Kentucky Patriot. Signing off.